Hey there, Libra. Welcome to your reading for April 2025. You have this card that says emotions are running high, and also this card that says communication is key. Yeah, a lot of people have been getting these cards of communication, since like the middle of March. So it's probably Mercury retrograde, right? We have to make sure that our communication is clear during Mercury retrograde, and that we are, very straightforward and clear, like I said, with our words. So, it makes sense to me that communication is showing up here. You also have that emotions are running high card, and you have the Ace of Cups and the Queen of Cups. Ace of Cups and the Queen of Cups would be good emotions, really. The Ace of Cups is your emotions overflowing, being very happy. And the Queen of Cups is very much, she follows her heart. Now we go to the Three of Swords. And so the thing about the Queen of Cups with the Three of Swords is that to be able to follow our heart, we have to heal our heart, Libra. So, the Three of Swords says it's a great time for forgiveness, which it is because Mercury retrograde. It's a great time to forgive the past. You don't have to forgive anyone directly. You can just forgive them in your heart and move on, right? Just that simple. You start here, Ace of Cups, the Fool, and the Seven of Pentacles. This is coming up in your current general energies. The Ace of Cups is about doing things that cause you to overflow. I always say that the Ace of Cups is about getting in the flow. The reason is that cup can just reach down into the water below it and fill itself back up. For us on a personal level, this could represent having a place where you can fill yourself up. This is why for the past 4 years, I've been telling everyone that they need to get a hobby or, find something that they enjoy doing, right? Because, we're really in a time where we are going to have to fill ourselves up, just so we can operate in the world. And so I feel the Ace of Cups is saying, if you don't have some sort of hobby or interest or, just something that gets you into the flow, right, then you're going to have a hard time. But you'll have an easy time if you find an activity or something to do. It could be anything. It could be going to the gym. It could be, going for a walk. It could be a hobby. It could be a friend that you hang out with. Whatever it is, I would find it. You have the Fool. A lot of new beginning energy in this set of readings, I would say. Definitely something that stands out to me. I always point out the collective energies because usually the collective message that I get, from all the readings is what everybody is working on right now, if that makes sense. And so a lot of this new beginning energy, very interesting because we have the retrogrades. We don't normally think of retrogrades as a good time to start things. And I'm not saying that you are starting something. As a matter of fact, you go over to the Judgment card. Usually with the Judgment card, we are kind of rebirthing an old idea, an old skill, something that we've always thought about doing. So it might not necessarily be new, but you could be starting it in a new way. And the other thing that I have said to people is that, we've been dealing with this retrograde energy since November, and kind of part of me wonders if we are just used to it, right? It's when you think about it, we've had nonstop retrograde since November. And so, maybe it's this set, these two retrogrades, Venus and Mercury, maybe it's not as bad because we're used to it or because we've kind of learned what we needed to learn since November, if that makes sense. So I don't know. It's just a thought that's popping into my head. You tell me if you're more confused. I'm not this retrograde, knock on wood, it's a little bit early to say this, but it hasn't been that bad for me. I've definitely had some mechanical issues, but that's besides the point. But it really hasn't been that bad, and I think it's because we're used to it. You have the Seven of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles, of course, is a change in direction. It says, is the juice worth the squeeze? Libra, wouldn't be a Libra reading now if you didn't get the Seven of Pentacles. It kind of makes sense because it is a card of weighing options, and Libra is really good at weighing options, kind of looking at what you're doing and saying, is this bringing me into balance or is it causing chaos in my life? And so I feel you could be asking yourself that question about a lot of things in your life. And again, with that Ace of Cups and the Seven of Pentacles, I would be looking at what things fill you up and what things steal your energy, plain and simple. Yes. With the Ace of Cups, you have the Nine of Cups. The more in alignment we are with the Nine of Cups, the more likely it is that we will get our wish. Nine of Cups is a wish card, but I always say you don't just get a wish with the Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups, the guy on this card, he's meant to look chubby, and the reason for that is because he's about to have a feast. And so the card itself says that to have a feast, you have to have had a feast before. So, the things that we're wishing for, we have to have them before we can have them. And people always say, how is that possible? I've never had money and I want money. And I always say, well, it's not about actually having the thing. It's about embracing the habits, embracing the energy of a person who would have the thing that you want. So you just have to change your habits, change your beliefs, change the words that you say to yourself, especially, right now. It seems like pretty much everyone has been getting these messages of like watching your words. And it could be all that Pisces energy, and you have that's going on right now. And I'm shooting this video on March 23rd, so it'll be published on March 24th. And so we're still, some of that energy will leave in April is what I'm trying to spit out here. But, for the most part, we're still dealing with it. And again, it's a very strong manifestation time, so I would watch your words. With the Fool, you have the Moon again. So we have the Moon twice with the High Priestess. A lot of Pisces energy. Definitely would be trusting that intuition. The Moon kind of is part of the Fool's journey, and he gets to the Moon, and he is not sure of where he's going because it's kind of dark out. And, if you've ever been outside on a full moon, the full moon casts shadows. So it's like some things are real, some things are an illusion. Mercury retrograde. Some things are real, some things are an illusion. Seven of Cups, same thing, right? So, we are kind of, operating blind right now. And if you are trying to accomplish something, just know that it's like you might work in one direction, maybe it doesn't work, and you just have to kind of get back on the path. I always look at the Moon as a card of staying on your path. And sometimes we get a little bit off the path, but as long as we get back to the path, we're fine. And these two pillars basically say that on the Fool. The two pillars on the Moon represent a distraction from to the Fool, and they kind of are, sometimes when we get very close to a goal, I've seen this happen in my own life and other people's lives where it's like they're very close, but then they go do something totally different, right? And the Moon says, don't do that. The Moon is about follow through. We have to see something through to the end with that card, and if we do that, we'll be successful. With the Seven of Pentacles, you have the King of Swords. King of Swords is knowledge and wisdom. With the Seven of Pentacles, it's a card of analysis. He's looking at those seven pentacles, and he's looking at everything he's learned by growing those seven pentacles. So the King of Swords, this would be about using everything that you've learned to be more successful in the future. I feel, again, this is something that's happening for a lot of people. I feel a lot of people could really, it's like everything, we're in this time where everything is adding up. All the energy is kind of catching up to us, everything we've been learning since like 2008. And now we could be, it's all adding up to a bigger picture thing in our lives. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have this Freedom of Time card. It says, the freedom to do whatever you want with your time is one of the ultimate benchmarks of an abundant life. You are the master of your schedule. You have this Obligations card. It says, you have some prior contracts and commitments that still need to be fulfilled before you can completely move on to the next stage of your journey. So, yeah, if there are things you need to wrap up, I would. I kind of feel for some of you, it's not really obligations. It could be like forgiveness, like I said, with that Three of Swords, where you're having to, forgive a past situation so you can move on to a new situation. I think freedom is definitely a major theme right now as well. So pretty much everyone alive is going to have this craving for freedom. I always blame Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus wants true freedom. And even though Uranus will be leaving Taurus at the end of the year, or really like the beginning of 2026, it's still like, when a planet is going through a sign, we're learning it. When it leaves, then we have to like really implement what we learned. So anywhere you can free up your time or create more time would be a good idea. And I feel like I've said that to you before. So definitely something I would work on. You have the Seven of Cups, the Queen of Cups, and the Nine of Wands. It's like what's true and what's not is kind of the message that's popping into my head here with the Seven of Cups. It's like he's looking at those cups. There, as I always say, there's some good things and bad things in those cups, but he doesn't know like what is going to happen. He's daydreaming or dreaming of an outcome that he desires. But again, there are good things and bad things in those cups. So he is thinking this could go really well or it could go really bad. But that's the truth about life. I kind of feel this is more about illusions. Like, I get this message for you, Libra. It's like you're saying to yourself, am I lying to myself? Like, sometimes I think if we start something great, we think that to ourselves. We're like, am I actually going to be able to accomplish this or not? And, I kind of feel that's what you're thinking about something you're trying to achieve here. You end with the Four of Wands, but we don't really see a lot of love cards here. And that Four of Wands, is freedom, but it's also commitment. We have to like commit to one thing and make it happen. This is a bunch of things right here, right? We go down to through the high priestess to this 4 wands. So you might have a lot of ideas right now, and then we have the moon right next to it, which is like confusion on which idea to pick. And the 4 wands is not a good answer because the reason the 4 wands is not a good answer is because it basically just says pick something and make it happen, right? And which can be hard when you have a lot of good ideas. So I think you should follow my 90-day rule, right? Every 90 days, I run an experiment, and I just see how it goes. You see all the experiments on this channel. For the last 90 days, I've been experimenting with thumbnails just to see what happens. For this 90 days, I'm experimenting with making my videos a little bit longer just to see what happens, right? So all my videos, if you notice lately, have been like 25 minutes long instead of 20. Why? I don't know, just seemed like a good experiment, right? And, again, I just commit to things for 90 days. 90 days I have found is like a good amount of time for just seeing if something is going to work. Like if it's going to work, you're probably going to get it to work in 90 days. If it's not, then you move on to something else. I used to be the type of person I'd have a million ideas. I'd try to work on them all at once and nothing worked because it's just like too much. Once I did, and I got nothing done every year, right? Now, following my 90-day rule, I get at least 4 things done a year, which 4 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot, right? And so I think that that's what you should do here. It's like, instead of thinking like, oh, if I commit to this thing, I'm only going to be able to do this thing, and then I won't be able to do these other things. It's like, no, you can try one thing for 90 days, and then you'll have another 90 days where you can do the next thing and the next thing, right? But just break it out into time. You have the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is about following your heart. Again, I think it's clear to me in this reading that healing your heart is going to be important with that 3 of Swords. Because again, Queen of Cups, she needs to follow her heart. And the 3 of Swords is hard to follow your heart with the 3 of Swords. And so, again, the easy solution is forgiveness, like forgiving anything from the past. And, sometimes we have to forgive ourselves. Like if we think, if we're beating ourselves up for missing an opportunity or, not taking advantage of an opportunity, we have to forgive that too so we can move forward. Next, you have the 9 of Wands. 9 of Wands is my card that says, don't give up, of course. It's the Wounded Warrior, but it's the card of perseverance. The 9 of Wands is also a great card for experiments. The 9 of Wands is a card of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So, again, I think it would be an amazing time for you to like try ideas, give them a certain amount of time, and give them a certain amount of focused effort, and just see what happens. With the 7 of Cups, you have the Page of Pentacles. A lot of people have been getting these communication cards. Most people consider the Knights in the tarot to be communication, but I also consider the Page of Pentacles to be a messenger, and so there could be very important communication coming in for you. Usually, with the Page of Pentacles, we are learning something. Someone is kind of giving us some information that helps us move forward. So again, if you have been feeling lost or not sure what to do, this could be some clarity from a person that kind of gives you like a good direction to go in, or gives you a good idea. And it's popping into my head that way as well. Yeah, with the Queen of Cups, again, this is your one challenge from the reading. Based off this reading, I think the challenge is definitely, healing your heart, but also self-belief. The 5 of Pentacles says, do not call attention to your weaknesses. The 5 of Pentacles wants you to call attention to your strengths. So the whole point of the 5 of Pentacles is they're focusing on their weakness, not their strength. And I feel, again, with the 3 of Swords here, it kind of makes sense that some of you need to kind of work on your mindset around something, about like your belief system, or, what you believe to be true. It's kind of giving me strength vibes in some way, because the Strength card, she's taming that lion, and that lion she has her hands in that lion's mouth on the Strength card. So, but the lion represents her inner voice, and that's what I would work on in this reading. With the 9 of Wands, you have the 10 of Cups. Yeah, I get this feeling like, sometimes we want something so badly that we feel like we can't ever have it. It's like sometimes I don't know how to say this here, Libra, but it's like sometimes I think we want something really bad. 10 of Cups, really good card. And I feel that like in your head, you can see something that you would love in your life, something really great. It could be an accomplishment. It could be happy home, happy family. It could be whatever, right? But it's like sometimes I think we want it so badly that it creates that feeling inside of us. I wish I could describe it better. I think maybe you know what I'm talking about. And It's like we want it so badly, and then we think there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to get this. And I kind of feel like changing that mindset, like really believing that you can have something that you want so badly, is going to be important for you. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this self-regulation card and this strength card. There you go. I said strength, and you have this strength card. This strength card. The self-regulation card is perfect with everything going on here because the whole entire reading says that your emotions are really going to determine the outcome of the month. It doesn't look like a bad month. I just think there are some personal things that you're dealing with, probably, with your thinking or your mindset or something like that. And I feel like learning how to regulate those emotions, again, I think the easiest thing to do, like I said, with that Ace of Cups, is to find something that you enjoy doing. And as simple as that sounds, right? I fully believe in the power of getting out of your head. As someone who lived in his head for like 4.5 years, I just sat in my room and stared at a wall, literally. The only way I got out of that is the first thing I started doing is walking every day. The second thing I started doing is socializing, because during that 4 years I was like punishing myself. I wouldn't socialize, I wouldn't go out or do anything. And once I did that, all the answers I needed poured into my head. But like during that time, I didn't want to do it, and I also didn't want anyone to tell me what to do either. So I get it if you don't want to hear this, but again, I think regulating your emotions by doing something that fulfills you is good. You have the Moon, the High Priestess, and the Three of Swords. We talked a lot about the Moon again. The Moon, the Fool has to get to these mountains. Once he gets to those mountains, he will have an achievement. So I feel for a lot of you that's going to be important. Also, with all the emotional stuff, we have this lobster right here, and the lobster represents your emotional armor. And lobsters can't move around on land very well. So the whole point of a lobster is that we have to be vulnerable in life sometimes to be able to get the things we want. So, it kind of says release your emotional armor. It's not about, it doesn't say don't protect yourself. It just says don't become a porcupine. Don't protect yourself so much that you don't do anything, right? And I feel like the Moon is encouraging that. You have the High Priestess. Yes, very intuitive time. So I would be trusting that intuition, trusting your gut instincts, your, gut feelings, whatever you think. Any thoughts that you're downloading would be a good idea. I also think you have a lot of secretive cards in this reading. The Moon twice, even the King of Swords can be a little bit secretive. Even the Judgment card, which you have in the next row, can be a little secretive. Not really secrets, but kind of like hidden information. The High Priestess has to learn about something that she doesn't know. She has to peek behind the curtain that is behind her, and she has to see reality. There's a theory that the High Priestess has her back to the world, as in she is shutting herself out from the world so that she can listen to herself. Now, there's nothing wrong with that sometimes, right? Like sometimes we have to go into isolation so that we can hear, so we can listen. But also sometimes we need to get back into the world. And I kind of feel that for you, Libra, with the High Priestess. It's about kind of looking into secrets, looking into things you don't know. Next, you have the Three of Swords. Again, probably your most important card here. I feel like the Three of Swords is saying the faster you work on healing your heart, the better things are going to go for you. So like I said, the Three of Swords is about pulling those swords out of your heart through forgiveness, usually. And like I said, we don't have to forgive a person directly. We just have to forgive them in our heart, and then we will be able to move on. So that's what I would do here with the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords is also temporary, so again, you're not going to be in this energy forever. I am also getting, I would watch your health. April's a little weird for me, health-wise, just looking at the astrology. Again, I'm not a doctor, so do not take this as medical advice, but I would just stay healthy. I would just do, the extra stuff to make sure you're staying healthy. Drink water, that stuff. Get some sunlight, right? With the Moon, you have the Ace of Swords. Yeah, the truth. The Moon is about what is the truth, and with all this illusion stuff here, you really could be wondering what is the truth. I kind of feel like a lot of people are feeling this right now. We've had Neptune and Pisces forever. Neptune's moving into Aries. Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces again, but Neptune and Pisces is illusions. It is not even the truth. It is just weirdness. And I've been saying since 2016 we're going to see a lot of truths come out. And I wasn't wrong. All these celebrities getting exposed, all this stuff going on, right? There's going to be a hell of a lot more. But the truth is very confusing in Neptune and Pisces. So with it going into Aries, the truth is being exposed. On a personal level, this is about kind of what is the truth for you. And I feel like getting to your own like personal truth is going to lead to victories for you with that Ace of Swords. With the High Priestess, you have the Two of Pentacles. Yeah, Two of Pentacles is work hard, play hard. I do feel like you could be working hard this month. I don't really see anything negative about money. You do have the Five of Pentacles, but again, I feel that's more personal. I don't think that's like money. So I think you're just like, I think money-wise, things could be kind of like normal. It's like you're working and getting paid. But again, I would make time to do those things that fill you up, as we said, because that's what the Two of Pentacles has to do. Yes, with the Three of Swords, you have the Four of Swords, which makes sense. It's healing. So, this kind of changes things a little bit because it says you are doing the things you need to do to heal. You are doing the things you need to do to rest, relax, recover, and all that other stuff. So, that's what I would do here. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this card. It says the time is now. It says it is time to act now without hesitation. Move past the old, move forward. You have this Metamorphosis card. It says your inner self is being renewed day by day, so new and better ways can come forth. Which kind of makes sense with that Moon card. The Moon card, again, the lobster has to release his emotional armor. The caterpillar has to leave the chrysalis to turn into the butterfly. And so I feel a lot of you could be undergoing these transformations. You have the Five of Wands, the Judgment card, and the Four of Wands. Again, I feel pretty good about this Five of Wands. It is showing up in the good stuff. Normally, the Five of Wands is conflict and competition. In the good stuff, this to me would say you're overcoming competition, or you could be healing from some sort of chaos. Three of Swords, Four of Swords. We already talked about it. But, it kind of tells me that you could be healing from that type of energy. We are in a little bit of a competitive time. I always say that, the Pluto in Aquarius, which we've entered into now, is kind of like more collective. Like, I think we are moving away from competition. That does not mean that there won't still be competition, but, we're definitely moving into a more co-creative type of energy. Like I said, competition is going nowhere, but I'm just saying that co-creation will be more beneficial. And so a lot of you could be embracing co-creation. You have the Judgment card. Judgment is about waking up to your purpose, but Judgment, these people are being called out of their coffins. The coffin represents their old life. Outside the coffin is their new life. So, and the Judgment card is a metamorphosis. So you are definitely going through a change, and you could be leaving a lot of old things in the past and kind of like stepping into a new time, which I think would be great. You have the Four of Wands. Four of Wands, of course, can represent marriage. We don't see like a lot of love here in this reading, so I think this is you committing to one thing, like we already talked about. Four of Wands can just be any commitment. And really, this will set you free. If you focus for 90 days, your life will change. It changed my life like crazy. Look at this channel. I literally, during that 4.5 years where I was in my room staring at my wall, then one day my mom came in my room. I've told this story a lot this week. Came in my room and she said, "Why don't you start a tarot channel on YouTube?" I literally started that day and I haven't stopped since, right? That was over 10 years ago now, which is crazy to me. But, literally started right there. And that was my 90-day experiment, although it lasted over 10 years now. So, obviously the experiment worked. But, the Four of Wands just says committing to one thing at a time will change your life. It changed my life. It's simple, free life advice. And like I said, I know it sounds simple, and it is, but it works. With the Five of Wands, you have the Fool. You start and end with the Fool, so definitely some sort of new beginning coming in for you at this time. And again, it could be something you're waking up to. Like I said with the Judgment card, usually in a reading where I have cards that say there's going to be a new beginning, and if I get the Judgment card, it really suggests that you're probably taking something like an old idea or something you've already been working on and you're like rebirthing it. So, it's like a new beginning. With the Judgment card, you have the World. In the Major Arcana, we go from Judgment to the World and then to the Fool, because the Major Arcana is Fool to the World, then we start all over again as a Fool. And so you could clearly be ending some sort of cycle this month or closing something out. With the Four of Wands, you have the Seven of Wands. When you commit to something and you know that it's going to work, that's when it works. The Seven of Wands is a card of conviction. It says when you know that something is for you, it is for you. So you really have to believe that something can work for it to work with the Seven of Wands. What do you know? You have this Lobster card. We were talking all about the lobsters. It says financial pinch on it. So again, some of you could be experiencing a financial pinch. I really actually feel good about money. If you are experiencing a financial pinch, this is going to sound weird, but I feel like that Two of Pentacles is saying you're working too hard. Sometimes I think if we work too hard, we push money away. When you work hard, you are saying, I have to work hard for money. And so the universe is like, sure, okay. So again, I think making some time to have fun. Again, I made like literally $0 during that 4.5 years. Like literally, I was like, there was a couple of years where I was always ending up like $800 in the negative in my bank account. It happened to me like multiple times. Horrible time. And I like barely made any money during that time as well. And so again, it was because I was like trying too hard, right? And I feel like this is saying, don't work too hard. You have this February card. In this I card, it says psychic ability, trust your intuition. I feel we are in a very intuitive time, like I said, so trust your intuition. You have this Tower. It says solid foundation, success with effort. So definitely a lot of success. There's another card coming up. I'm actually going to pull it early because you have this Boot card. It says increase your efforts if you want to achieve your goals. So again, I think this is about increasing your efforts on one thing, becoming more focused, but also staying balanced with that Two of Pentacles. So, that's what I would say there with that card. You have this flag. It says, do not be tempted to lower your standards. Yes, a lot. You don't have this, but a lot of people have been getting the Eight of Cups with me recently. We have two eclipses, one in your opposite sign in a few days from the day that this video will be published on the 29th. We'll have that eclipse in Aries. So the Eight of Cups, even though you don't have it, he's walking away from those 8 cups because they no longer serve him, and he would be settling. So, like, no settling at this time either, Libra. But this looks really good, so thank you for being here, and definitely enjoy your month.